I hope everybody is doing well. I haven't been making any tutorials over the past 2 weeks. I had been getting ready for craft shows, and plus we have a lot of fall chores here to do, which includes cleaning up leaves every day. My brother Rob was ripping off our front porch and putting on a huge 12 by 24 foot, sorry, not 12, 8 by 24 foot front porch deck on our house. So I wasn't able to record too many power tool noises. Arborists were back again. We have all these ash trees that are dying all around us, and they were chopping them all down and grinding them. So it was a good 2-week break that I took, and I really needed it. Okay, enough of that. Hi. I'm Teresa from Tree60 Handmade Bags, and thank you so much for being here, and welcome to my sewing studio. And if you're already a subscriber and part of my YouTube community, thank you so much for coming back all the time and checking out my YouTube tutorials. And if you're new, thank you for being here as well. If you would like to subscribe, on the bottom right of your screen, there's a red subscribe button. Just click that, subscribe, click on the bell notification bell. Make sure it automatically defaults to highlights, I think, but make sure it's clicked on all notifications so that whenever I go live or whenever I post a new YouTube tutorial, you get notification of that and you don't miss out any of these tutorials. All right, so today, let me get the name of this up so I don't mess it up. All right, so today we are doing the cutest little wallet, purse, pouch, crossbody, wristlet, whatever you want it to be. It is the Pollies Purse Plus from Sewfisticated Designs. And this is cute. I've made a couple of them, but I've made them as a wristlet. So today I've made this one as a crossbody bag because it's for me. And you'll know why, because it's purple, my favorite color. Look at how cute this is. This is a really, really cute bag, and it has a ton of pockets, which it doesn't look like much, you know, but boy, I'm telling you, it has a lot. So the Pollies Purse Plus, it measures, okay, so in inches, 5.5 inches wide by 5.5 inches high by 7 3/4 wide, or if you're into centimeters, because they provide it, 14 centimeters high and 19.7 centimeters wide. I don't do centimeters, but anyhow, it's a good size. It's small, but it has a lot. Okay, so the fabric I used is this beautiful purple, and this is actually chalk vinyl. I got it at Lens Mills in Barrie, and it was in the craft section, and it comes in rolls. And this is a beautiful purple that I've had for some time, and I wanted to use up what I had left. I've got a number 5 zipper tape in here with a beautiful coordinating zipper, and it's a rainbow teeth. Of course, my rainbow bag tag. Look at these zipper pulls. They're the Cheshire Cat. Aren't they the cutest? And I got these zipper pulls from ATELIER Designs, I think. They're in New Brunswick. And I ordered a whole bunch of zipper pulls, maple leaf glitter zipper pulls and maple leaf glitter bag charms from them, and some really nice 1.5 inch wide webbing for straps. And they sent me these. I've done 2 orders, so they sent me one of these Cheshire Cats with each order, and I thought this is going to be the perfect bag to use these with, because they're big enough to grab, but they're just cute and they're fun. Aren't they sweet? And they go with everything, because I've got gunmetal hardware in here as well. So check out what this bag is. So this, like I said, the vinyl is chalk vinyl from, you can use chalk on it, and it does mark up almost like oiled canvas. I'm probably saying that wrong, but anyhow, and it marks up. That's okay. It's going to get creases in it. But the first zipper pull, the first zipper pocket at the front, now you can use this as the front. Now I've used this beautiful vinyl, very thin vinyl from Sam Fabric Creations in Quebec, and I've used that as the coordinating strap. So the strap is a 1/2 inch wide, and I cut a 2-inch strip by I think 50 inches long. And then I folded the 2 raw edges into the center, and then the 2 folded edges into the center, and then top stitched on both sides to create the 1/2 inch strap that coordinates with that lining. The top pocket, look at how big this is. I've got my phone in here already. So look at the size of this. Isn't that gorgeous? And look at the colors. The colors of this beautiful lining have so many different colors in it that you can really coordinate with a lot of different exteriors or other fabrics that you have. Here, on this side, so that's the front. Now you can use this as the front, or you can use this at the front as the front. It just all depends. It has a big slip pocket that has a snap in it. I have a Samsung S25 Ultra. It's a big phone. No, you don't want to do an emergency call. We don't want to do an emergency call. So it has this big slip pocket for your phone. And I'll just put my phone back in there. And then it has, now I put my Canada flag, my Canada Made in Canada label here, and I talk about that later on at the end of the tutorial. But in retrospect, I should have put it inside the slip pocket or inside this big pocket, because now it's exposed. For some reason, I thought where I put it, the flap would cover it. But that's okay. It doesn't matter. So, I mean, this is supposed to be the front, but you can use this as the front. But then you might want to make sure that your card slots are up against your body and your phone. So under the flap, you have an ID window. Now, all your cards are going to fit vertically in here, and your ID pocket also will be vertical. So I know I can fit 2 of my cards in here. I can put my driver's license, and I can put my health card in here as well. They do sit, mine do sit up a bit because I didn't have the vinyl size to use. So I just improvised with something that I had. And then your card slots here, you can probably, they're going to go vertical. There's 8 card slots here. So you can have at least 8 cards in here, or you can put one kind of off to the side here and then put double up. It all depends on what you decide to use this for. So let's put this on, and then you can see what this is like. And it's just a simple crossbody. There is no tri-glide adjuster for it. Okay, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And it's so lightweight. And the beauty of this also is you can just, if you have a bigger bag, you can just throw this into your bigger bag and pull it out as a wallet, take off the crossbody strap, attach a wristlet on it if you just want it to do that. I wanted a crossbody so I could wear this all the time instead of carrying a bigger bag and that. But look at this. So you can have it so that the card slots are up against your body, or you can wear it even with the card slots at the front, whichever way you want to wear it. If it's your bag, that's up to you. So anyhow, get all of your, figure out which fabrics you're going to use and the colors, and have fun with it. Get your pattern as well, the Pollies Purse Plus from Sewfisticated Designs. Get all of your fabrics together, figure out your color choices and all of that fun stuff, and meet me back here, and we are going to sew the Pollies Purse Plus. Alrighty, so today we are making the Pollies Purse Plus from Sewfisticated Designs. And this is, of course, as I showed in the intro, it's a great card slot, small crossbody wallet, wristlet that you can wear as a crossbody, as a wristlet, as a wallet in your bag, and it has pockets, 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 8 card slots. It has an ID window in it. It has so much going for it. And I'm making this one for myself. So I am, now it's made as a wristlet in the pattern, but I'm making it as a crossbody so that I can just wear it running out the door when I'm walking Murphy, or, you know, put it in a bigger bag, and then when I run into a store, I can just pull it out and grab it. So I've already made my crossbody strap, and I'm using gunmetal because that's my 1/2 inch wide hardware. So I made the strap. First of all, the material that I'm using is, this is the lining. And this is a beautiful, gorgeous nylon from Sam Fabric Creations in Quebec. And that's the lining on the inside. And then this purple, which goes amazing with this lining fabric, this gorgeous fabric. I mean, look at the colors in this lining. You can do a lot of different colors with it, like some, the Mora faux leather in mustard and teals. There's so many different color combinations you can do with this. But today I'm using up my scraps, and this is a really gorgeous purple, of course, being my favorite color. And this is a, I got this from Lens Mills a long time ago, and this is chalkboard or chalk vinyl. It's not very thick. It's very thin, which will be perfect for this bag because there are a lot of layers. It can be very, very thick. So when you make this bag, make sure you read in the pattern the fabric choices, depending on whether you have a heavy, like a domestic machine, or a industrial like my Jack. But this is what, these are the colors that I'm using and the fabrics that I'm using. And of course I'm using gunmetal on the strap. So I made the strap out of that waterproof nylon, or it's just thin, very thin nylon. And I just made, it's a 50 inch finished strap, 1/2 inch wide. I already made it. And I started it off with a 2 inch wide strip of the waterproof nylon. And then I folded the 2 raw edges into the center, and then I folded the 2 folded edges into the center, and then I top stitched on both sides. The thread that I'm using today is this gorgeous purple. It's 45 tex weight, and it's from EMMALINE Bags. So I wanted to try her 45 tex weight. And of course I needed the purple, so we're giving this a try. I kind of like how it might be hard to see, but it has a stiffness about it. It has a nice structure to it, which all other threads, you know, they're kind of loose, but this one has a nice structure. So I'm looking forward to trying that. It already looks great on my strap. So those are the colors that I'm using, and I'm using gunmetal 1/2 inch D-rings, and I'm using what's left of my purple rainbow number 5 zipper by the yard. And now I got some maple leaf, glitter maple leaf zipper pulls number 5, and zipper bag charms from ATELIER in New Brunswick, and she sent me 2 free as a gift. Well, not, first of all, my Canadian maple leaf that I'm not one for stickers on my sewing machine, but I thought I'm going to put that there and everybody can see it when I'm sewing, and I love it. I think it's great. And so she sent me these zipper pulls. Okay, I'm wearing black, and oh, and of course I'm wearing black. I'm wearing a t-shirt from Barbie, Jeannie's Design. So it's a beautiful thing. So I'm wearing one of Barbie's t-shirts. So look at the zipper pull. This is the Cheshire Cat. She sent me 2 of these. So I'm going to use these on this this wallet, Pollies, the purse pocket. I got to get the name of this right. I'm always it is a Pollies purse. So yeah, the plus. So I'm going to be using the Cheshire Cat zipper pulls. Now these are in matte black, and that's okay. It'll go with the gunmetal. And so what we're going to start off with is our D-ring tab. So because of the fact that I'm making a crossbody, I'm going to be using 2 D-ring tabs that the pattern only calls for one. So I'm going to be making my double-sided tape, and I'm just going to put double-sided tape on both edges, fold them in, and sew them. I didn't mark my center line on these at all. They're pretty small, so I don't really need to mark a center line. I can fold them in pretty easily to the center. And then, so I've got the raw edges folded in, and then just fold them in half. Okay. Hair all over me, my hair. All right, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be top stitching down the folded end and the two folded edges, and then the other end. At 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So this is what I meant about the structure of this thread. It has a really nice structure to it. It's not flimsy or anything like that. For a 45 tex weight, this is really nice. I'd like to see the 70 tex weight. But this is quite nice for using medium weights on your fabric, because this nylon lining is quite thin, so I don't want to use a heavy-duty thread on it. All right, so I'm just going to put my D-rings on the D-ring connectors and just clip the ends. And then I'm just going to baste the ends shut just to hold them in place. Okay, and then I'm just going to take my lighter and just melt the ends of those threads so they don't unravel, and it helps to seal them. Alrighty, so now we're going to take our two zipper pulls, my little cute Cheshire cats, and you have two different lengths of zipper tape in the pattern. Now, one of the zippers in the pattern is called for number 3, but I'm using number 5 on both. So just put your zipper pulls on. These are a bigger zipper. Okay, just make sure that that's lined up and I don't have a bulge. Beautiful, and then we'll do the same for the other one. All right, so we have both of our zipper pulls on, closing to the left. All right, and I'll be right back. All right, so we're going to work on our 2 zippers, and you'll need your longer zipper with the H1 zipper tab. You have 1 piece, and then you're going to need your shorter zipper, and then you'll need your H2 zipper tab piece, and you'll have 4 of those. So we're just going to put the smaller one to the side. Well, first, before we do that, let's just make sure that we take the lighter just to the ends of the zipper tape, just to melt any fraying edges. Okay, and then we're going to take our H1 piece, pattern piece, and on the zipper end, so we have it closing to the left, and on the right side closed edge of the zipper tape, we're going to put this piece of, I've got the exterior, I'm using the exterior dark purple, and you line that up with the edge of your zipper tape, right sides together. So your teeth are the right side up, and the fabric exterior is right side, and they're right sides together, and then sew at 1/4 inch, and then we're going to turn it into a little taco. Okay, so we're going to fold the right side up, and then we're going to take the other raw edge, and we're going to fold that down, and we're going to fold it over and create like a little taco, like a little hot dog bun, so that your edges are going to meet on both sides, and then we're going to top stitch at 1/8 inch seam allowance. Okay, and if your edges are too long, and they're longer than, wider than your zipper tape, then just trim them off. Mine are. And then I'm just going to take the lighter, oh, there it is. And I'm just going to take the lighter and just kind of melt the ends. Okay, so we'll just put that aside for a sec. We're going to take the shorter zipper and our 4 zipper tab pieces of H2, and we're going to take one of them, and we're going to put it right sides together with the zipper tape. And then we're going to take another one, and it's the short edge that follows along the zipper tape. So mine fits perfectly along my number 5 zipper tape. And then I'm going to take another piece and put the right side together with the wrong side on the back. Line up the edges. Sometimes double-sided tape helps, but I'm not using it. And just clip together. And then do the same on this side. So just take your short edge of your zipper tab and right sides together on the top. And then right side of your exterior with the wrong side at the back of the zipper. Put it together, line it up. And then we're going to sew at 1/4 inch seam allowance. Flip it, and then top stitch. This thread is quite nice, actually. We had frost on the ground this morning. Winter's coming. All right, so then you're going to take your two ends, your two wrong side ends, and you're going to flip them up and fold them and meet the edges. And then we're going to just top stitch along here at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Making sure that your edges are even and together for your zipper tab. Just getting it caught. All right, we'll do the other side. Okay, and then I'll just take my lighter to the edges, the ends of the thread, and there we have our zipper tabs done on the short piece, and then I'll be back. Okay, so you're going to now need your pattern piece A and A1, which is your exterior, main body, and lining. You're going to need your piece B, which is, I got it cut in my exterior. You're going to need, well, if you have a bag tag, I have my bag tag as well, and then you're going to need the shorter of the zipper, the one that we put the two exterior zipper tabs on. All right, so first of all, I'm going to put my bag tag on the back or on the front, because this is the front of the bag, and I'm going to put that on in the center of my main body piece A. And I've already cut my duct tape, which I always put on the back of my bag. So I'm just going to mark my bag tag in the center and where I might like it to be. And I'll just mark my slit marks. Okay, and then I'm going to put, to reinforce the back of the fabric, I'm going to put the duct tape in behind where my slits will be. Take my seam ripper, jack my seam ripper, and just cut my slits. Ouch, I just pricked myself. Be careful. I just pricked myself. And I'll fold my prongs out for my bag tag and pop those into those slits, making sure that the bag tag is right side up. Try and make sure that that's lined up. Oops, crooked now. Okay, I'm just going to pop on my washer on the back and just lightly fold the prongs, and then make sure on the front that I have it lined up fairly straight, push it down, and then I just take my other piece of duct tape and I put it over top of these prongs and the metal washer so that the lining fabric, when it rubs, it won't fray or cause a hole from the metal. And that also helps to secure my bag tags as well, and it gives it a little bit more stability. All right, so now what I'm going to be doing is I'm taking this front piece with the bag tag on it, and I'm just going to run a piece of double-sided tape across the top of it. And I have an 1/8 of an inch roll of double-sided tape here that I'm going to use. And I've marked the centers on all my pieces with the little notches that are out here. And I've also marked the centers of my, oh, that one didn't come through, of my zipper tape. So I line up these two edges of the zipper tabs that we have already sewn, and I just make a little notch nip first one, the ones I made didn't work, didn't show. All right, so there they are. Now we have our zipper pull orienting to close to the left. So that will be right side up. Then just flip it over so that the wrong side, the back of the zipper is showing up, and you've got the right side of your zipper teeth and the right side of your exterior fabric together, and just line up those edges. Okay, and I'm just going to run another strip of double-sided tape across the top of that. That zipper pull is a little large, so I'm glad I'm using number 5 zipper tape. All right, and I've lined up my centers, and then I'm going to take the lining piece, and I've already marked my notch in the lining piece, and I'm going to match it up with the notch on the top edge, the raw edge of the zipper, and the exterior together. Sorry, excuse me. And then I'm going to sew those at 1/4 inch seam allowance. Making sure you watch where your zipper pull is, and you pull it out of the way when you get to it so that you're not trying to sew around it. Back stitch at the beginning and the end. So I just have to move my zipper pull out of the way. It is a big one. I've never worked with one this big before. Usually they're all thin and rectangular. I actually like this thread a lot. It doesn't fray. The one thing I find with other different kinds of threads is when you go to thread it in your needle, it unravels, it untwists, and then I have to keep cutting the ends to get a straight edge in order to feed it through the needle properly. And this is amazing. I really like this thread. All right, I'll be back in a sec. All right, so we've done our 1/4 inch seam seam allowance across the top of the lining and the exterior. And if you have any overhang, which I do, of my zipper tab, just trim that off. Oops, move my zipper pull out of the way. Just trim that off in line with your edges. Now, there are a lot of layers in this bag pattern, so it's important to trim off the corners in here to reduce the bulk on these edges. So I'm just going to trim these off. Don't hit your stitching though. Oops. All right, so there, I've just trimmed them off like this. And then we're going to flip it. Line up your bottom edges and corners first so that they're even. And then the sides. Okay, and then just take this and just kind of smooth it up so that those edges still stay together. Because what we're going to be doing is we're going to now top stitch across this zipper, the seam that we just did with the zipper seam. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the side so that you don't see any back stitching on the front of this bag to make it look a little neater. You just have to go down maybe 1/2 inch to start that edge, and it's an 1/8 of an inch top stitching. Making sure that your zipper pull is not in your way. And then on the other side, then I'll go down the other edge about about an 1/8 of an inch, going down about a 1/2 an inch to finish off that top stitching. Okay. Isn't that thread gorgeous? Doesn't it make really, really, oh, my light over here, there, I knew I was missing something. Look at the top stitching of that thread. It's gorgeous. There it is on the underside. Isn't that beautiful with the purple? Love the color. I'm all about color. All right, what we're going to now do is take your piece B, which is the main body, piece B, and just run a strip of double-sided tape across the top edge of that zipper. And you already have your centers marked. And then just match your centers, your notches, with the center of the top part of the zipper, and just line up your raw edges. Zipper tape pulls in the way. Okay, and then you're going to sew that on at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Get my zipper out of the way. Move my zipper out of the way. It pulls, this thread also pulls through the machine from underneath when you're pulling your sewn pieces out, and it doesn't get hung up. I'm not having a problem with it getting hung up. Okay, so again, we're going to just trim these corners off to reduce any bulk. Okay, just like that. Fold this piece up, just like that, with your seam heading up. We're not top stitching yet. Now, you're going to take your main body piece A2, which is a lining piece. Oops. This is very, very lightweight. Almost feels like a windbreaker material. And then you're going to put your right sides together and clip them. I better mark my centers here too, just to be on the safe side. Okay. And if they don't match, I'm just going to put a bead of double-sided tape at the top there just to make sure everything stays aligned. This nylon is very slippery. Somebody told me that I use a lot of double-sided tape, but yeah, I do. But you know what? It sure saves a lot in clipping as well. And Lindsay from Lynn's Handmade says that her bags are all put together 50% at least with double-sided tape. It helps. All right, so now it's sticking to me. All right, so let's get this lined up. Your top raw edges lined up together. And that helps a lot. Okay. Now you've got pulled it, because this lining is so slippery, just make sure it's pulled down. Clip it to your front piece. Make sure it's flattened, depending on what fabric you're using too. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of start at the edge here, and I'm going to go across the top and top stitch, go up the top, up the side, across the top, down and around, and baste all these pieces together. Everything's at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Just go slow around those curves, even though you're not going to see this edge that you're top stitching. Or this edge that you're basting, but all right, so this is what we have now. I have my bag tag on. Of course, it matches perfectly because it's purple. And now we have the inside of our zipper pocket on the front of the bag. All right, I'll be back. All right, so now we're going to take our longer zipper that we just have the little hot dog bun zipper end on, and then we're going to, on the front of the pocket that we just made, there is a measurement in the pattern that you measure in. You can just see the line that I made, and you measure in there, and I put double-sided tape on the top just to help hold my zipper in. You're going to take your zipper, teeth down, and teeth are right side together with the right side of this pocket. You're going to line up the edge of that zipper tab with the line that you made here. So the zipper tab is not going all the way to the end. It's going to line up. It's hard to see my mark, but you're going to line it up with that and then double side tape all the way to the end there at this moment. And we're not doing any top stitching yet, sewing yet. So I'm just lining up the edge of my zipper tab with that line and lining up the top edges of the zipper with the top edge of the pocket. Watch your zipper pulls. You've got 2 zipper pulls to maneuver around, and like these guys that I have are big. Okay. And then I'm going to take another strip of double-sided tape and run it across the full length of the pocket of edge to edge. On the back side of that zipper. All right, so we have the zipper tab lined up with that measurement in the pattern. I have double-sided tape. You take one of your lining piece C's and you put it right side down onto the right side of this pocket, matching up your edges, lining up all of your side edges and your top edges. And then we're going to flip it over to the pocket side. And then, sorry, in the pattern, there is another measurement, which is the same as on this side, for on the right edge of this pocket piece. And you make your mark. And what's going to happen is we're going to sew across the top here at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. When we get to that mark, keep your needle down, and I'll just show you with my seam ripper. At this point, we're going to open up the zipper on the raw end, and you're going to have one edge down here that you're not going to need at this moment. So when we sew along the top edge here at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, when you get to this line, you keep your needle down, and then you take your zipper piece. Hopefully I'm doing it, I can show it to you this way. So the top zipper piece, and you pull it. Now I have double-sided tape there. So what you do is you pull it so that it's 90 degrees up from the edge of your bag here. Then finish sewing across here, and then you can sew across up at the very top here to secure it. All right, so we're just going to sew that at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Make sure, watch your zipper pulls, because there's 2 of them there in the way. All right, and then we're just coming up to that mark. Okay, so my needle is down, and I'm just going to lift my presser foot, and I'm just going to pull that zipper tape away so it's kind of 90 degrees, and then I'm going to finish sewing to the end and back stitch across that pulled zipper. And then I'm just going to lift the needle and just go over top of it about 1/8 of an inch from the edge there. Okay. Okay, so this is what we have so far, and I'll be back. All right, so this is what we have. We've got it sewn. We've got our zipper excess up here. We're just going to trim that zipper part, that zipper tape off. We don't need that now. And then we're going to just trim off these corners just to reduce any bulk that's in that edge. Oops, pieces flying everywhere. Okay, and then we're going to close our zip. Well, don't close your zipper all the way because you still have a raw edge. So we're going to open it up to the right side showing, and you've got the right side showing of your lining and of your pocket. Now your zipper seam automatically wants to go this way, but what we want it to do is to go down towards the actual body of the bag. So you're going to fold your zipper up here. Your lining is going up, your zipper is going up, and your seam underneath is going down. And then we're going to top stitch along this edge. Start at the edge here on the side, and then top stitch, and then go back down so you don't see any back stitching there. And we're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Just making sure that there aren't any puckers and that everything's lined up the way you want it to be. The thread caught. Okay, so this is what we have so far, and it's all top stitched along here, all the way around, and then I'll be back for the next step. Okay, so now we have our pocket with our pocket zipper, front pocket zipper, and our top zipper attached. And I've just put double-sided tape just across this edge. And what we're going to do is we're going to be taking your exterior piece C, and we're going to be lining it up with your edges along, matching up your side edges, and then matching up the top of the zipper to where it winds up meeting. So I'm just going to clip these two edges, and it's right side down. So your exteriors are facing each other. And then I'm just going to line up my edges just to make sure that they stay aligned and they don't go wonky on me. And then I'll take the double-sided tape off and align the raw edge, the top raw edge, with the zipper tape. Okay, and then we're going to flip it over, and then we're going to take our remaining piece C1, which is a lining piece, and we're going to put that right sides together with this lining piece. I'll just put some double-sided tape across the top there as well. You still have all your zipper pulls. I'm not going to go all the way to the end because we're going to make that one mark to move our zipper tape up 90 degrees again on this side. Take the zipper tape off, your zipper paper backing off. Line up your edges again, the sides and the top. And I'll just clip this on. Okay, you got your zipper pulls all, you can feel them all. Okay, and now we're going to make that mark again on the right side of the lining side of the pocket, because that's where we're going to stop our stitching and then pull our zipper, the other remaining zipper tab up that way, or zipper teeth. All right, and then what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to then sew across the top here at 1/4 inch seam allowance. When I get to this line that we just made, I'm going to stop, keep my needle down, and then lift the presser foot and then pull this up 90 degrees and stitch again to the end here. And then I'm going to go back over this area here just to secure about 1/8 of an inch from the top of the edge. Now I have to keep an eye on this lining because it is very, very thin. Okay. Make sure you watch your zipper pulls. My clips. Get them out of the way. 2 to work with. Okay, so I'm now just coming up to that mark. Okay. So my needle is down, lift my presser foot, pull this edge, this extra edge of the zipper 90 degrees up, match your corners again. On the edges, I'm going to talk today, and then just sew right to the end, back stitching. And then I'm just going to lift my needle and presser foot and just sew 1/8 of an inch at the very, very top edge just to hold that zipper in place. I will definitely be ordering more of this thread from EMMALINE bags. This Tex 45. I really like it. Okay, so I'm just going to trim off that excess zipper tape. And then I'm going to trim off the corners to reduce some of that bulk again. All right, this is what we have, and I'll be back. All right, so we have our pocket looking, our front and the main pocket looking like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip our exterior piece only forward. So all of your lining pieces are going down. And then we're going to make sure that the seam that we've just sewn is going up towards the exterior. And then we are going to top stitch just across the top of this zipper and the exterior panel, making sure that you keep your linings out of the way. Move your zipper pull as well. Start at these, so you can start at the edge for your top stitching just so that you don't see it on your ends, but it'll all be caught in the seam. Sure all my lining's not caught in there. So the way that we did this zipper with the sewing with the 90 degree has created a butler end on that zipper end. Okay, so this is what it has created. It's created a zipper end that is basically the butler method without folding it, and you know, and you've kind of created that while sewing your seams. So this is what we have so far. This is really, really cute. I kind of like those Cheshire Cat zipper pulls. They're kind of cute. They're little, they can get a little caught, but that's okay. So this is what we have so far. There's our top zipper. And when everything does get sewn up inside, there's going to be your main pocket with that gorgeous lining from Sam Fabric Creations. And then we have our front zipper pocket that I know will have all my lip balms and everything that I need handy. But don't worry, we will be making a cell phone slip pocket as well. In fact, if your cell phone is small enough, it might fit into this front pocket. Mine, I don't think it will. It's a Samsung S25 Ultra, and it won't quite fit into that zipper. And I know that it won't fit. It would fit definitely into the top zipper, but I know it will fit also into the, when we make the card slots on this side and we create a slip pocket on this side as well. Okay, I will be back. All right, so now we're going to work on building our card slots, and you need your card slot panel piece F1. And I'm doing my card slots in that beautiful thin nylon, because this is where you're going to be building up bulk in the on the other side where the pockets and the flap are going to be attached. So you have 7 pieces of your pattern, your card slot panel F1, and I've already made 6 of the card slots that look like this. And like this. So what we're going to be doing so I'm going to work the 7th one with you. You're going to put your right sides together, line up your short ends, And then you're going to sew at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. I've been sewing at a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance up until this point, but you don't want your card slots to be too big. And then you're going to sew this top edge at a right sides together at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. I have to watch my fabric because it does tend to pucker and pull just because it's so thin. And then I kind of just smooth out my stitching with my nails just because this fabric is so thin. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take that seam and you're going to splay it open. If you're using cotton or cotton canvas or anything that you can iron, this is where you can use your iron, but this is nylon and it's going to melt. So I'm just kind of placing that seam in the center, and I'm just going to use my nails just to help splay it open, just like that. Then you're going to turn it outside right, so that you're going to see your right sides together. And then you're going to take that seam, and this is going to be the wrong side of your card pocket. And you're going to kind of just line up that seam somewhere in the center. And then you're going to choose which end you want to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then I'm just going to kind of pull that just to get a little bit of the puckering out of the nylon. So now I have my 7 pieces, and I'm just going to try and take my nails and just kind of run my nails along the stitching just to get, because I do have puckers. Making sure that you have all of your seams at the back, because that is your wrong side. All right. So there are my 7 card slots, and I'll be back. Okay, so now we have our 7 card slots pockets made. Now we're going to take card slot panel piece F, and on this panel you have this part from the top down to the first line, and you have all of these lines. And you're going to, now I'm using the lining, and what I do is I take the pattern piece and put it on top on the right side of the lining, and I kind of just move it over a little bit, and then I kind of line up and I tick where those lines are, and then do the same for this side so you can see the little tick marks. And then I'm just going to take my ruler and I'm just going to do a light line joining up each of those ticks and drawing a horizontal line across on each one of these. Okay. Oh, I missed you. It's hard to see on this printed fabric with the beautiful florals. Okay. So what we're going to be doing is lining up whatever you choose as the bottom edge. So I have all of my lines connected. There should be 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The very bottom one you're not going to be using yet. So what you can do is take your card slot piece, your little pocket pieces, and line up the bottom edge. So there's your top stitched edge. This is the right side, and the wrong side has the seam down the center. And then clip, line up this bottom edge, and I'm going to use my nails to fold it a little better because I can't iron it. And then I'm going to line up this bottom edge with that first line that I just drew, making sure that my edges are even. And then I'm just going to clip that into place. So remembering that your top has all that space here. And then I'm going to sew this at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Making sure that I backstitch at the beginning and the end. And then I'm going to take the next one and I'm going to line it up. Make sure that I have it creased and flattened quite nicely on the bottom. And then I'm going to line that up with the next line. Making sure that when you do line it up, your top edges are even. So I'm just going to move that clip over here just to keep these top edges even. This, I know my card slots are going to go wonky only because of this fabric is so thin. But I wanted a thin fabric in order to ensure that I didn't have as much bulk. But make sure that your top edges are even. And it's basically about 1/2 an inch down from each card slot. And then I'm going to top stitch that 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to continue doing that for the rest of the other 5 card slots. And then we still have our 8th card slot to build. Okay, so I'm going to put the next one on. I just want to see how these tops are because they kind of alternate the flowers. Okay, so I'm going to top stitch this on, and then I'll be back after I have all of these sewn on. All right, so now we're going to be, this is what we have so far. We have all of our card slots stitched from on the bottom, and there's the top. And now we're going to be getting card slot panel F2, and I'm going to be using an exterior piece for that. And it's just plain, it's not directional or anything like that. And what you do is, so this is the top and this is the bottom, and we still have that one line left. And as you can see, when you measure it, it'll be 1 inch from that line to the bottom. I'm going to take my right sides together and I'm going to clip the bottom edges, line up the sides and line up the bottom edges, and then I'm going to sew at a 1 inch seam allowance, which is that line that we drew. Make sure I know where my inch is. Perfect. So sew that at 1 inch seam allowance, making sure that you backstitch before and after. Okay, so what you have now is you have these 2 pieces sewn together. Okay, so we have our exterior card slot backing sewn onto our card slot panel, and I'm going to fold the lining part back, and I'm going to trim this top edge of the exterior to reduce bulk. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this exterior piece forward and meet the ends here and clip. And then we're going, I'm just going to move these clips out of the way. Clip the sides here though, just to kind of line everything up. And then we're going to just take the top edge of this card slot, and then we're going to fold it, and then we're just going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so this is what we have now. And at this point in time, I have double-sided tape on my Made in Canada label. So I'm just going to stick that down here on the side there. Hopefully it'll stick, and then it'll all get sewn in. So now what we need to do is we need to measure down 3/4 of an inch. Kind of fold the top edges together, meet the side edges, and kind of make a little bit of a crease if you're able to do that. And then measure down 3/4 of an inch seam, 3/4 of an inch from the top here, and that's where we're going to put our snap. I was going to use magnetic snaps, but I'm just going to use a plastic black cam snap, and I'm just going to make my little mark here in the center, just like that. Okay, so I have just double-sided taped my Made in Canada label on here. I have marked 3/4 of an inch down into the center of here with a mark, and that's where the snap is going to go. So we're going to be using the male of the plastic snaps that I'm using, and I'm using black because they go with everything. Now we're just going to be going through the top layer only of the of this one card slot that we made. So I have that measured in the center. I'm just going to use my seam ripper just to kind of poke a hole in there. And then what I also do is I do use double-sided tape, or not double-sided tape, sorry, duct tape, especially on these snaps, because there's so much stress put on them when you're opening and closing them. And I'm just going to poke that through where the seam ripper came through. Okay, and I've already got my hole. So the rounded part of the snap will go from the underside up, poke it through the hole, because we want the male portion on this side, because when the flap comes over, the female will be on it, and we want them to snap together. And then we just pop that on, and then I use my little cam snap squeezer and just squeeze them together. All right, there we have our snap on, and there we have our card pocket slots at this point in time. All right, so now we have our snap put on, and that's just taped on. And now I've clipped all of my edges together of my card slots so they're all lined up. And depending on the fabric that you use, this is where it can get very, very bulky. Like I use this thin nylon, so it's not super bulky. And actually this would this should work with a domestic sewing machine as well. And then this vinyl, this chalk board vinyl is not very thick. It's actually quite thin. So I don't have a lot of super bulk here. And if I was to use my Domestic Brother or my Kenmore, vintage Kenmore, I have no problem sewing this whatsoever. So what we're going to do is we're going to baste along each side. I'm starting at the bottom because when I baste, if I was to start at the top and my presser foot hit each of these edges where the card slot edge meets, it could push them out of whack. So I'm going to sew from the bottom up the sides, and then the presser foot will slide over top of these edges quite nicely. So that's what we're going to do right now. And then it'll also baste in my Made in Canada label. So I'm just basting at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance from the bottom. And when I get to those card slot edges, I'm just going to take my seam allowance, just make sure that I pull those corners out because I know that they are puckered. And just to make sure that they get caught properly. Because this is pretty bulky, and some of these, this material does kind of pucker as it was being top stitched. Okay, and I'm just going to top stitch along the other side. I'm just going to pull that stitching just to make sure nothing puckers. Or base, not top stitch. Okay, so we have that now based along here, and we have our card slots here, and I'll be back. All right, so now we're going to take our card slot pockets and our piece G, which is the card slot panels. You should have 2 of those, and I have used the exterior, I've used the exterior purple, and we're going to line these up. I'm using 2 different kinds of clips here just because of the lightweightness of the nylon. Okay, so we're going to line up the bottom edge with the bottom edge and clip. And then line up the top edge first before you work the sides, making sure that your top edge and your sides are even. Because of the bulk that's in here, depending on what fabric you use, this may appear shorter. But if you line up and clip your top and bottom corners first, then as you're clipping this on together, you can kind of curve it, and it'll help fit and work its way over that bulk of those card slots. And then do the same with the other piece. Working the top and the bottom first, or line those up first, and then just curve it around. And I'm still going to sew from the bottom to the top, okay? So here's the top, and that's the bottom. And we're going to sew each one on at 1/4 of an inch in seam allowance, and then we're going to flip it open and then top stitch at 1/8. But I'm still going from the bottom up so that I can glide so smoothly over top of those card slot corners. But we're doing 1/4 of an inch seam allowance here. Make sure that you back stitch at the beginning and the end. Sure that's the bottom. Yep, got the bottom. And this will be pretty thick depending on what fabric you've used for the card slots and your exterior pieces. This is not bad. Like I said, the fabric that I've chosen for mine is definitely domestic machine friendly because it is pretty thin. Now, had I been using a heavier duty waterproof nylon with a PVC backing and that for the card slots, it definitely, an industrial would be the one to use. Okay, so I'm going to fold back my edges here, and then I'm going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and of course my Made in Canada label is nicely on there. Making sure that your seam, your underseam, is going towards the side wings. I've made a few of these Pollies Purses Plus, and they are really nice. It's a nice little small everyday, it's, well, not small, I mean the thing has a million pockets it seems, and it's really quite a nice bag to use for your everyday card slots and all your everyday things that you carry if you don't want to carry anything that's big. It's definitely a well thought out pattern, and it comes together so nicely. Okay, this is what we have. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at these colors. Oh my God, I love this flower. I think it's a peony. It's just so pretty with the purple. All right, let's go on to the next step. All right, so now we're going to take our finished card slot pocket, and you're going to take your piece D, which is your slip pocket, and you have, it's a lining piece. And then you're going to have the top of your card slots here, because your card slots open this way, and the bottom is here. And then you're going to just take the left side of your wing part of the card slots and line these up right sides together. We're going to sew at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and then we're going to flip it over and top stitch. Okay, and then I'm just going to splay these seams open just to help the folding over a bit better. And just to open that seam, and then we're going to flip the wrong sides together and your right sides are showing, and then we're going to make sure that our edges, our side edges, are lined up with the lining, and then fold the top edge that we just sewed, and we're going to top stitch that. I have to really be careful because this is so thin. The lining is so thin. Okay, so now we're just going to top stitch along this folded edge, 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Start at the side. And this is creating our slip pocket that your foam will fit in really quite nicely. Okay. Now, I'm not going to worry about these corners at this point in time. I mean, I can trim those corners off just to even things up, but I know we'll be dealing with those later on, but I'll just trim them now just to get them off. Okay, isn't that gorgeous? These colors are absolutely beautiful together. All right, I'll be back. All right, so now we're going to install the snaps for our slip pocket that we just made. We already have the male snap on the front of the card slots because the flap's going to come over and then it's going to snap over top of the card slots. But here we want to make sure that when we line up our edges and the bottom curve, so what we have to do is on, sorry, I forgot to mention, on this side, there is a, you find the center and you, on the lining side, the right side of the lining, and you mark in the pattern, there's a measurement, I believe it's 5/8 of an inch down, or yes, 5/8 of an inch, but check the pattern. Make a mark. That's going to be your male portion of the snap. And then on this side, with all the lining pieces going to one side, so you just have your exterior, then you're going to measure down from find the center as well, and measure down and make a mark down from the top edge of the top stitching, and your female portion of your snap is going to go there. So because this is so thin, I'm definitely going to be reinforcing the underside. We're just going to be going through the lining, and this lining is really thin. So I'm going to find my mark, which is right here for where the snap is going to go, and I'm going to put my duct tape there. Let me get my seam ripper and just poke it through there so I may have it in the right spot. I can see the hole, and then I'll put my duct tape there to reinforce it. And then I'm just going to take my seam ripper again and poke a hole. And then from the underside, I'm going to take the cap, which is the curved flattish end, and put it from underneath through the duct tape and the lining in that hole. pop it through. And then I'm going to take the male portion of my plastic snap, and the male portion, of course, is the little nub on the, it's hard to see, my nails are in the way. And then I'm just going to put that over top of here, and then take my little snap press and get in there, line it up, and then squeeze those two together. Okay, so there we have the snap on the inside, and this is the slip pocket that your cell phone will go in. If you don't want to put the snaps on, then you don't have to. It's optional. Now on this side, with just the exterior vinyl only, I'm just going to pop a hole where I made that center mark, and I'm going to put the duct tape over top of that because to reinforce. Okay, and then on the underside, I'm going to take that flat edge, that cap, and put it on the underside through the duct tape in through that hole. Push it through, and then put the female part of the cap on top of that, and then use my little cam snap press. Actually, can I get through that zipper? No. Gotta make sure you're gonna have to squish your fabric somewhat if you have a little short little press like mine. Mine's just a little hand press. Okay. All right, so this is how it's going to look at some point in time. Just like that. With your top zipper here, your front zipper there, and then this will eventually all be sewed together, and then your slip pocket for your phone there. All right, I'll be back. All right, so now what we have, I've got the front card slot panel snapped on to the exterior, that's going to be the back of our slip pocket. Make sure that you line everything up because we're just going to baste everything together. So make sure that your top stitch line here is in line and level, parallel with this top stitch that you've done for your zipper. Just make sure that it's level. Excuse me, and then clip that together. And then I'll show. So what we have here is the card slot panel clipped on to just this, and the lining just clipped on to this part of the vinyl exterior, and then the actual lining is pulled up here, and then you're going to see your little snap on this side. So we're just going to clip all of these together, and then we're going to baste it at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And I'll have to see if I'm going to baste it from the other side. Oops. Because there might be some overhang on the underneath. Okay. Oh, looks all pretty even to me. That's pretty good. Okay, so I'm just going to move the zipper pulls into the center. So what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be basting from here all the way around to there at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, making sure that all your lining pieces are up towards the front, the top part. Excuse me. This bag is coming together very fast, and it's such a cute little bag. But after you sew it and go around those curves, you can check to see if there's any overhang or uneven edges. Like I have some rough edges, just because I'm not the best cutter. I'd never make a good quilter because I'm not very good at cutting. Okay, so there is our slip pocket now, just like that, and the phone will fit in there. I have a Samsung, of course it's purple, it's going to match. I have a Samsung S25 Ultra, and that will fit in there quite nicely, and because it's the biggest Samsung, and the snap does up, so the phone is going to be held in there securely. I mean, the Samsungs, I believe, have the biggest phones. I'm not quite familiar with iPhones, but I believe the Samsung is probably bigger. So this is what we have so far. I am just loving this. Now we still have to make the flap, but look at this. All right, so now we're going to start working on our flap. So you're going to need your inner flap piece E, which would be your lining. Now I've made my flap the purple exterior vinyl for both pieces, so it doesn't matter which one I'm using. And then on your the right side of the inner flap lining, you're going to draw a line. You can just see my line. It's 5/8 of an inch from the top to that line. And then you're going to need your piece E3. Now I'm using piece E3 because it is the bias tape with non-fraying material, and I've made my bias tape for the vinyl clear ID pocket with the nylon, with the vinyl. But if you're going to be using cotton, then you would need your piece E3 for the it's a wider piece, and it will be for your cotton to fold in and fold in again. But I'm using the piece E3, which is the non-fraying material. So what I have done is I folded mine in half and clipped it. Now I'm not using the pattern. So the pattern piece for the E2 is the clear vinyl piece. Excuse me. I'm not using that piece. I just took a, I have ID cards, clear vinyl slots that you can use as an ID thing to clip a lanyard onto, and I just took one layer of it, and that's what I'm using for my vinyl. And I've put the bias tape on here. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be stitching right along this edge on both sides to secure the binding on, right along that edge, and making sure you got to really keep an eye on this because your vinyl can stick to your bed, but make sure it's probably about 1/8 of an inch along from that edge to stitch the bias on. Making sure that it stays on that vinyl because it can slip very easily. Ask me how I know. And this is probably going to be big enough that I can put my driver's license and my health card in there at the same time. And I'm just doing the other side now too. Okay. So now what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be taking the bottom of this pocket and lining up the bottom edge of the bias tape to that line, because when the, so this is the inside of the flap and we're going to have a snap up here. So when it lays on your card slots, there's your card slots here, it's going to be laying this way, and then the exterior piece will be that way. So when you open the flap, then this is where your part that you would slip your ID into. So along this bottom edge, where that line was that I marked, that's where I'm going to line the bottom edge of the bias up, and the edges of my vinyl do meet on either side of that perfectly. They meet on either side of the exterior. And then I'm just going to clip them. There's a bit of overhang of the bias, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to be stitching this at all, because that's the opening of our pocket, and I'm going to stitch 1/8 of an inch and all around the bottom. So it's almost going to be like a top stitch holding that on, and up the side of this ID pocket, making sure that you back stitch at the beginning and the end. You won't see that. You might want to use double-sided tape as well, maybe, to hold it on from the underside, just because it does slip. I can see that mine slipped away from the line a little bit. But that's not a big deal. Okay. So there we have our ID pocket, and I'm just going to take these little edges and trim them off, that overhang. Okay, so that's what we have at this point. So that part will be on the underside, and when we open it up, we will have our ID being able to go into here, and I'll be back. All right, so we're going to take our underside flap that we just made our ID window on, and then the exterior flap. So in this case, I've used both of my, with the vinyl, I've used the vinyl. And what we're going to do is we're going to line up all the edges. And just clip them together. Excuse me. Not enough coffee. Clip your round edges. And then we're going to sew at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance all the way around. And then we're going to just come in maybe 1/16 of an inch from the 1/4 of an inch that we stitch, and we'll do another set of stitching just to help secure that vinyl in. And we are sewing all the way down the sides and around the curve, but we are not sewing the flat edge. And we're sewing right sides together, because we'll have to be we'll be turning this when we're done, and that's going to be fun. With the firm vinyl and the clear vinyl, and go slowly around your curves. And then I'm just going to, excuse me, I'm just going to stitch basically a 1/16 of an inch seam allowance on this side of the 1/4 of an inch. And that will just help secure that vinyl in there as well. I'm just going to go on the other, slightly on the other side of that 1/4 of an inch stitching. Go down the curve. All right, so I'm going to take my pinking shears and I'm just going to trim around the curve just so that it'll help it lay better. You don't cut any of your stitching, of course. All right, now comes the fun part. We need to turn this outside right. I'm just going to kind of squish it a little bit. I know it's going to make marks on my flap, but it'll be marked up later as I use it. Okay, I'm just going to take my pinking shears because they're kind of blunt ended and just pop out those seams. Yeah, it's going to be like wax canvas. It's going to have a lot of marks on it, although it's not wax canvas. Okay, just make sure that you pop out those seams. Okay, and then I'm just going to take my bone folder and I'm just going to go in there along the edges of those seams just to get them to flatten. And that's not going to be long enough, so I'll take my broken-ended knitting needle, curve. Make sure you have that curve defined as well, because the curve of the flap is what makes it stand out too. It's a nice feature. Flatten that as best as you can. Yeah, I'm going to have marks, but you know, that's okay. It's going to get used. All right, now I have a piece of Decaville light to put inside the flap, and I may have to trim it down, but the Decaville light will just help to give it a bit of a stay, make it a little bit more firm. I'm just going to trim about 1/8 of an inch off the edge. And stick it in there and get it in underneath those seams. It's not as firm as I'd like it to be, but the vinyl helps make it firm. Kind of pop it in there. Push it in with my scissors. It went in pretty good after I trimmed it. Make sure it's all flat in there and that the Decaville light is right down at the bottom. Okay, now I'm going to top stitch on the outside edge because I want to be able to see that nicely. And then we're just going to, time to close my blind. I'm just going to clip the edges so that I don't, so that they stay nice and crisp. Make sure everything's flattened and your seams, your edges and your seams are quite nice. Okay, and then we're just going to top stitch all the way around and across the top to close the top. 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And going over those humps for the where the bias tape is, it does get a little thick there. Just keep that in mind if you're using a domestic machine. I'm just going around the curve now of the flap. And this top stitching is also helping to sew in that Decaville light to secure that in there as well. Oops, daisy. I didn't leave my needle down. That's okay. Okay. So there is our flap. Okay, so now we're just going to baste our flap on to the card slot panel. And excuse me, and so we're still keeping our lining sides out of the way, and this is the interior part with the snap that you're not ever going to see. And just center your flap in between here. You can measure, you can do your center marks and what have you, but I've just kind of eyeballed it, and I just made sure that there's the same amount of top stitching on this side as this side, and then I'm going to baste across the top of that just to hold it in place. Get your zipper pulls out of the way. Mine were in the way. I'm just basting 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so now if you were just going to make a wristlet, you would just put your 1 D-ring connector on, which we did at the beginning. And I'm turning mine into a crossbody, so I have made the 2 D-ring connectors with a 1/2 inch D-ring. So where they get put, if you're just doing a wristlet, then your slip pocket is right here. Right there. It's snapped together, and you would kind of center your D-ring connector here, and then for a wristlet. But I'm going to do that on both sides because I am doing a crossbody. So I'm going to center that in between the flap top stitching and the top stitching along the slip pocket, and it fits in there quite nice because it's a 1/2 inch, and I'm going to leave a slight overhang, maybe about 1/8 of an inch slight overhang there. But you don't want that, you don't want your D-ring connector in the way that it's going to impede opening your flap. And then we're going to add the female version of the snap when this is all put together, or after we do our D-ring connectors. So I'm just going to clip that in place, and then I'm just going to swing it around and put the D-ring connector on this side as well, making sure that your D-rings are not overhanging this way, but they're going in towards the bag. Okay. And I'm just lining it up with the other one. So I'm kind of like just lining it up with the top stitching of the slip pocket here, and just overhanging it about 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to just baste these D-rings on. Okay. So there we are at this point. Now we have our D-ring connectors on and we have our flap. This is so pretty. All right, let's see what the next step is. Okay, so now we are going to sew this bag together and then birth it. So make sure all your zipper pulls are in the center so they don't get in the way of sewing. Then you're going to take your 2 exterior pieces, put them right sides together, and your 2 lining pieces will be right side together. When you line up your exterior pieces and your lining pieces, make sure that this seam and this seam, so these 2 seams, I'm probably not showing them, line up together so that when the bag is open, they are even. And then just clip. So clip your seams together first. And we're going to be birthing it through the lining. Just make sure that all your raw edges of your exterior are all lined up. Oops. And I'll be using my other clips for the lining because these Wonder clips or generic Wonder clips are just too heavy. So we'll just start clipping the, oh, Frankie's here, clipping the lining together, the raw edges. And then we're going to leave approximately on the lining. I'm not going to mark it because I can pretty much gauge it, but we're going to leave this as an opening so that this area as an opening because that's where we're going to birth the bag through. Now, when we sew along the exterior part of the bag, we're going to be sewing it at 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then when we get to where the 2 seams join, I'm going to backstitch over there just to secure them a bit. And then we're going to kind of veer in and then sew at a 3/8 inch seam allowance on the lining so that the lining, when it's all tucked into the exterior part, it's a little smaller into the bag and there won't be any bagging or any bulging. So I'm going to be starting here and working my way at 3/8 inch seam allowance along the lining. And then when I get to that seam, I'll backstitch and then turn it into a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Have to make sure I watch for puckering because this lining is thin and it will pucker. A waterproof canvas would be nice too. Okay, I'm just coming up to that seam where the zippers are going to meet. And then I'm going to go down to 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And get over that. You'll probably need your hump jumper. I use my knee lifter to help me get over any thick seams. Kind of just lift it slightly and use it like a hump jumper. I just can't seem to figure out how to use the hump jumper the right way. So I'm just going over my D-rings right now. Okay. Start going around those curves, very slowly around the curves. And I'm just coming up to that D-ring connector again for my crossbody. And then I'm going to turn now the seam allowance into 3/8 of an inch seam allowance down the lining. Smooth out that stitching because it does pucker on this nylon. Okay, so now in the pattern, it's written that along the exterior is to do another row of double stitching just on the inside, just on the outside edge of that 1/4 of an inch stitching. So I'm just going to do that. That just helps to secure. Oh my God, I can't have mixed clips. That would drive me crazy. So I'm just going to do that. And then that'll just help secure everything in there, especially that flap too, because the flap's going to get a lot of work out. Okay, I'm just going to take my painting shears and I'm just going to trim around the corners just to help them lay a little better. It's pretty thick. Trim off that edge because it is a little on the rough side, maybe not as even as I'd like it to be. Okay, now we turn it. Okay, let's just hope I can get this. All right, open up your zipper all the way inside. I'm going to be fighting with this too. All right, I'm going to get this turned and I'll be back. Whew, okay, I did it. I got it all turned. It does take a bit of time because there are a lot of layers and it's pretty thick. So here it is all turned. Make sure that you get into your curves really well and pull and turn them out. And of course, there's my two D-ring connectors. We haven't put the snap on. So in the main top pocket, the lining has not, which was our turning hole, the lining has not been sewn. So we're going to sew that shut. So I just take my fingers and put them into where we sewed the seams and let it naturally fold in on itself. And then we will clip it. You could even probably use double-sided tape, but pop that curve out a bit. These clips are going to be too heavy, but that's okay. It's only for a small spot. And just make sure that you've got both those raw edges turned under. So easy peasy. This is such a cute bag, and it's a great little everyday bag. Like, it doesn't look like it's much, but it holds a ton, and it's, yeah, this is great. And of course it's purple. Okay, so I have that turning hole all clipped together, and I'm just going to go across the whole bottom at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance just to close it up. Poof all the air out of here. All right, take your lighter and just kind of melt those ends of those threads. Okay, tuck your lining inside the main zipper pocket, pushing in the corners so that they're not sticking out. There we go. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at how gorgeous that is. Move my light down a bit more. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? And there we have, it's all zipped up. Look at those Cheshire cats. They are big. They're big zipper pulls, but they're cute and they're so much fun. And you know what? Halloween's in a couple of weeks, and what the heck. Now, we're going to put the snap on, but before we do that, in retrospect, I put my Made in Canada label here. Now, thinking that the flap was going to cover it, I should have put it somewhere else, like maybe on the inside of the slip pocket or on the inside of this pocket, the main pocket compartment. Because now when the flap is down, and you know, you can either wear it with the flap going, you know, facing out, you know, with your card pockets like that, and your phone going into this slip pocket, or this is the front of the bag, and then the Made in Canada label is going to be against my bag, so it could get dirty, it could get folded up, but I'm not worrying about that. So now I'm going to mark my snap for the female portion of the snap, and I don't want to have it flat. I don't want to have it pulled taut. I want to have it up a little bit so that there's a bit of a curve, only so that when card slots are in here, and I know I'm going to be able to put more than one card slot in each of these. It looks like they're going to go vertical. All these old card slots. My dad's old CAA card, which is AAA in the US. They don't fit horizontal, but they do fit vertical. So I know that there is going to be room to put more than one in each of these 7 card slots. You know, you can kind of stagger them going, you know, one this way, one that, but sorry, excuse me. I ran out of cards. But there you go. There's 7 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, there's 8. Sorry, 8. There's because there are 8 card slots. But they go in vertical, and then if you have your ID, this one will not fit vertical, or it won't fit horizontal, so it's going to have to fit vertical this way. And you just have to watch. I know I'm going to have room for 2 in here, which I figure my driver's license and my health card, and then when it's secure and that against my body, it'll be safe. So these will definitely have to go in vertical, not horizontal. There just isn't the room for horizontal. And put all my cards away. And now when I do the snap, sorry, excuse me, my throat is dry. I need some water. So I'm going to lay it, I think there's too much light coming in here. There. The sun's swinging around, so it's starting to get too bright in here. Okay, you don't want it, I don't want it too tight, but I don't want it too loose that the cards may slip out. So basically, probably another 5/8 of an inch up from the edge. And I'm just going to line that up and make sure that it's centered between my top stitching. And I'm just going to take my stylus and I'm just going to pop a hole right in the flap. Right there. And then the smooth part this time of your snap goes on the top. And then the female portion goes on the underneath. And get my little setting tool, my cam snap press. These are just plastic snaps. There's nothing, they're really not anything big. And there it is. Yeah, I'm going to definitely have marks on it, just like if I was to use oiled canvas. But look at that. Isn't that the cutest thing ever? My Cheshire cat doesn't want to hang right. He's hanging off to the back, but look at that. How cute is that? And of course, I made the strap ahead of time. And it's a 1/2 inch strap. So we'll just clip it onto there. It's not adjustable. I did not use any kind of adjustable strap. I just made it at a certain length to accommodate my height. Okay, look at this. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh my goodness. I absolutely love this. And this purple, it just glows, and it glows with the matching zipper tape with all, of course, it's the rainbow zipper tape. And of course, my rainbow Tree60 bag tag, my old logo. I've had many generations. And look at those Cheshire Cat pulls that I got, that Atelier sent me as a free gift from my last 2 orders. And then of course the strap is a match to, on this side, of course, our card slots. And then here is the slip pocket that my phone will fit in perfectly, and snap that shut. And then my snap the card slots, and then the front of the bag, of course, with this zipper pocket. Gorgeous. I'm going to have to get some more of this fabric from Sam Fabric Creation in Quebec. I absolutely love the colors. I love peonies. And I love the colors of this because it has so many beautiful colors that you can use so many different coordinating and complementing exteriors and that. So this purple works perfect. And then of course this big, huge zipper pocket in here to put so much stuff as well. Like it's just, this is just full of pockets. It has so much room. Okay, so let's put it on. So this is supposed to be the front. And this is exactly where I would want to wear it. So look at this. It is perfect. And then of course your card slots are on this side and your phone, so it will be protected. But if you want, you could even take your phone, and if you have a small enough phone, it'll fit in this front zipper pocket. Mine won't. I know it won't, but it does fit in this zipper pocket, although I wouldn't use it for my phone because I want the slip pocket to be used for my phone. Right there, and it gives this bag a little bit more stability. So isn't this gorgeous? And with this strap as well, it's very lightweight. It's a really nice coordinating detail with the purple, just like that. So of course, like I said, you have this amazing zipper pocket with this beautiful lining from Sam Fabric, the Cheshire Cat zipper pulls from ATELIER, and they're in New Brunswick. And look at that. And they also gave me my sticker, my Maple Leaf sticker that says A, which all Canadians always say, sorry, and A. And look at that big zipper pocket to put a lot of stuff in as well. And then on this side, we have our card slots and ID slots here, and the slip pocket for the phone. Lots of room for a Samsung S25 Ultra with a matching purple case. This is a great pattern. It is a fast make, and it's a fun make to do. And of course, it wouldn't take as long as my tutorial because I do chat. So just quickly before I forget, on the bottom right of your screen, if you're a subscriber, if you're part of my YouTube community, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And I appreciate every one of you guys here for tuning in and checking out my bag making tutorials. So if you haven't subscribed, on the bottom right of the screen is a little red subscribe button. Just click that, subscribe, and then you get notified whenever I do a live or whenever I post a new YouTube bag making tutorial. And I know I haven't posted in the past 2 weeks because I've had craft shows, and I kind of took a week off break, maybe 2 weeks off break, and we had, we were trying to catch up on some outdoor chores here. It is fall. We are surrounded by hundreds of feet maple trees here, and the colors are gorgeous. And but with all of those trees that we are constantly in shade and rarely use our air conditioning in the summer, we get all the leaves in the fall. So every day I mow more in the fall than I do in the summer. I think I mowed maybe 3 times all summer long. But in the fall, I mow because I mulch the leaves every day to keep up with them so we don't have to rake. Anyhow, that's what's been keeping us busy. A couple of dump runs to get rid of some garbage that we've been hanging on to. My brother Rob did an amazing job. Maybe I'll post it in here. He did an amazing job of a new front porch deck from what the old one was, and he did a fabulous job. So it was a little difficult for me to do any kind of recording because there were a lot of power tools going on. We had the arborists around chopping down all of our, in this area too, we have a lot of ash trees and they're all dying. And the arborists have been here chopping them all down and grinding them up. So it's been a little noisy. It was just as well I needed a break. But anyhow, guys, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all of you, and I'm so happy that you're here. And thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next tutorial. So take care and we'll see you soon.